Welcome to the bright side of aging, health, wealth, humor, and wisdom. My name is Ike Engelbaum. I'm a pharmacist and the publisher of the American Senior Gazette newspaper, and I host this TV show, The Bright Side of Aging. I like to think of the fact that age is a matter of the mind. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. It has also been said there is no such thing as old age. There is instead chronologically blessed. My mission is to interview interesting people who can contribute to the aging process. I'm a pharmacist and like to think that I can help you outwit the bad genes if you've inherited them and stay in a vertical position for as long as is possible. And if you aren't in a vertical position, hopefully we get you feeling better. As much as I like to think of age like a fine wine that you get better, the truth of it is that as we age, obviously we have to make changes. In fact, I have a theory about the ABCs of aging. A stands for adjusting and accepting. B stands for bridging your years to the future from the past. And C is having connections and communications. I'm fortunate to have two such people with me today, Mr. Bill Jamison, who is the communications specialist for Lourdes Retirement Community, and also Cheryl Burford, who's an OT, and tell us what in shirt sleeve English OT stands for.
OT is occupational therapy. It's a field that is designed to help anyone in any age recover their ability to function on a daily basis. In the aged, we look at their ability to dress themselves, get back to feeding themselves, taking care of themselves. Their everyday function is what an OT looks at.
Now at Lourdes Senior Community, you are very fortunate in that you can see people in different stages of movement.
Absolutely.
And Bill Jamison, who is your what's your official title?
Communication specialist.
There you are. Okay. When I grow up, I'm going to get a title like that. Communication specialist. Boy, if I can just learn how to communicate, I could be a specialist.
It's the bright side of my aging, so to
That's
speak.
right. That's right. And the more, as I like to say, you don't become older; you become more seasoned. Okay.
That's kind of you to say. Yes.
Right. Well, you know, since we're into communications, my favorite description of communication is I like to take sayings and put a spin on them. In fact, for the I can be accused possibly of being arrogant, but I call them Ikeisms because of my first name. And one of my Ikeisms is, in terms of communication, you've heard that saying that it's not what you say, but how you say it that counts, right?
That's correct.
That's true.
The Ikeism is that it matters not so much what you say or how you say it, but it is whether you are understood. Right? Now you're a deacon, so there is a huge amount of wisdom there. And I would imagine, Cheryl, as an occupational therapist, that communication with seniors is probably an important part to your whole profession.
With the senior as well as their family, we work very closely at Lourdes with communication is key, interdisciplinary with the nursing staff, restorative staff, and also the families. They're a very big part of the process at Lourdes. It's what makes Lourdes stand out, that we're very holistic. We look at the whole person, including their family, their environment, and it really makes us stand out from other places.
And Jim, since you are the communication specialist, why don't you give us a brief overview of Lourdes Senior Center?
Well, Lourdes Senior Community is 33 acres on Scott Lake in Waterford. And one of the wonderful things about Lourdes is that all 4 elements of senior living are represented. There is Fox Manor on the Lake, which is independent living. There's Mendelssohn Home, which is assisted living. Lourdes Nursing Home, which is rehab care and nursing care, of course. And Clausen Manor, which is memory care, and which memory care, dementia, and Alzheimer's people. So we have all 4 elements at Lourdes, and that's a very positive thing about our place. And as Cheryl mentioned, we have a very holistic approach to people. And it actually got started around 1948 on the shores of Scott Lake. It began as a nursing home, caring for aging people, and it's burgeoned over the years to include the other elements of Fox Manor, Mendelssohn, and Clausen.
When it was first started, was it started with the intent of having
No,
4
it wasn't.
buildings? It
No,
was
it
just
wasn't.
sort of evolved.
No, it was the property was donated by a family, by the Mendelssohn family, and it began from there and just kept growing over the years. The nursing home itself, in its present state, was opened in 1965, and the 50th anniversary of the nursing home will be coming up in 2015.
Now, Cheryl, as an OT, do you operate in all the 4 buildings, or just one?
Absolutely. No, we cover all 4 buildings to address the needs of all the residents. We're also, which is very exciting for the 50th anniversary, we have a redesign project coming up. We're adding 50 private rehab beds, state-of-the-art therapy gym. We're hoping to incorporate outpatient therapies for both the folks that we discharge to come back and for those that may not need skilled care but need the therapy. So we will really cover yet another aspect of the aging process.
Well, you know, we joke about it, you move it or lose it, so exercise is really an important part. And I would imagine, I can't help but think that you've got 4 buildings. It's like going to high school. I don't know if they still have the same breakdown, because I go back all the years there.
Right.
In fact, I was even on the face of the earth in 1948. How's that? That's how far back I go.
As was I.
And I remember 4 years in high school. So you have 4 buildings.
4
so you could
buildings.
conceivably, I'm not wishing people getting more debilitated.
Another thing about the wonderful service that Cheryl and her staff offer is that, let's hypothetically speaking, let's say someone is living in Fox Manor, independent living, and they have to go into the hospital for a hip replacement. And so when they return, I mean, they could
come to Lourdes for the skilled care that they need and get the rehab.
All on the same complex.
Yeah, the
And
same campus, exactly.
Right.
And we'll also see folks that aren't quite capable of going home anymore, but don't need skilled care nursing, so we can set them up in the assisted living. So it's a very nice continuum of care that can be offered.
Also, for instance, there are some married couples where the husband lives in one building and the spouse lives in another. And the convenience of that, for instance, one couple comes to mind, they just celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. He lives in Mendelssohn Home, and his wife lives in the nursing home. And so he doesn't have to get into an automobile to go and visit
Just
her.
walks
Right.
across.
He can just go right to see her, and that's a beautiful thing too.
It
Right.
is.
I'm not looking forward to necessarily going to a nursing home, but you just gave me an idea. Maybe I could do that with my wife. We have a separate.
There you go. There
You
you
told
go.
her about this.
Yes.
Not yet. I'm married. I don't tell her anything, all right? But I'll tell you, I'm solving all the major war problems in the whole world. That's the kind of stuff I do,
There
not
you
just
go.
Mickey
That's
Mouse
right.
stuff.
That's right.
Now, why don't you walk us through, Cheryl? There's OT, occupational therapy. There's some other letters. There's PT and
Right.
ST. What are those letters?
Occupational therapy is OT. Physical therapy is PT. The difference is physical therapy is classically known to do more gross motor activities. They look at ambulation, balance, the bigger muscle groups. And then ST is speech therapy. Our speech therapists cover communication problems, swallowing problems, and cognition problems. So we really, between the 3 disciplines, as we said, holistic, we cover everything that a person needs to do to have quality of life.
Now, in my mind, I've always had the impression that the biggest difference between a physical therapist and an occupational therapist, as the name sort of implies, is the physical therapist does more of the physical stuff, and an occupational therapist in turn sees the physical capability of the patient, and you adjust it to their daily life. Is that?
That's actually very good. A lot of people think occupational therapy has to do with work.
Right.
And you can say work at any age. If you're looking at children, work is play. When you're looking at middle age, work is being out productive in the community. And when you look at aged, work is having quality of life. So it does, work can be a good term for it. OT and PT work very closely together. The body isn't divided between upper body and lower body. We look at the whole body. And that's what is very nice about my team. I have a team of 11, 4 OTs, 4 PTs, 5 OTs, and a speech therapist.
Oh, so you're like a boss person.
I am actually, I'm the director of the department.
Right. Oh, don't take too great pride in boss, because I heard that boss
tough.
Backwards is SOB double. But I'm not going
yeah,
there.
there's moments.
Fortunately, I'm not on your payroll. Otherwise, I would have lost my job right now. Now, in your day activities, you're also a deacon, so you have a religious component, and I understand that Lourdes Senior Center does have a philosophy. Do you want to share that with us?
It does. I'm a deacon in the Archdiocese of Detroit, assigned to Our Lady Star of the Sea Parish in Grosse Pointe Woods. So I make the commute out to Waterford from there on a daily basis.
I see.
And doesn't take that long. You know,
I
some
see.
people think I need a green card or a passport each day.
I see, right. Well, it's the other east side.
Yeah, but one of the things that certainly drew me to Lourdes was the spiritual component, the core values, and as Cheryl mentioned, the holistic approach to a person, not only their physical well-being, but their spiritual well-being. And we are sponsored by the Dominican Sisters of Peace, their mother house is in Columbus, Ohio, but they have sisters here, of course. It initially was founded by the Dominican Sisters of Oxford, and but that said, we certainly welcome people of all races, religions, ethnic backgrounds, and so we are not, while it is a Catholic-sponsored organization, we welcome people of all faiths and ethnic groups.
So you can practice any religion.
That's correct.
Absolutely.
And,
Then there are,
and being religious, I have to be religious to taking a break right now.
Okay.
And we're going to be right back, and we're going to get into that part of the spirituality.
Okay. Thank you.
Right now, we'll take a brief break, and we'll be right back.
It's Ladies' Night Out at the Orion Center on Friday, November 15th from 6 to 9 p.m. The Orion Area Chamber of Commerce will once again partner with Orion Township to offer a night of ladies-only fun. Over 40 vendors will offer a little something for everyone, including tasty treats and multiple wine tasting stations. There will also be raffle prizes and demonstrations, and Tim McGraw tribute artist Alan Scott will provide live entertainment. Round up a group of your BFFs and register today. The first 100 women through the door will receive a free gift bag. That's Ladies' Night Out at the Orion Center, Friday, November 15th. Call 248-391-0304, extension 305 to register today, or visit orionareachamber.com for more information.
And welcome back, and with me is Bill Jamison. He was a communications specialist at Lourdes Senior Center. And Cheryl Burford, is that good?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Correct.
Did I practice?
Correct.
Practice,
You got
practice.
it.
All right, so we're
You got it.
moving right along. And before we took our break, I had the real joy of listening to, actually it was a Catholic priest who was talking about how the aspects of religion and life.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a firm believer, and he delivered a very nice presentation, that it wasn't necessarily the religion you practiced. The walk-away message I got about the importance of having a spiritual component to your life.
Right.
And I am very strongly a advocate of having some sort of a belief system. Now, I'm not saying atheists are bad. There are some great atheists, and I've got friends of mine that are. But from an overall perspective, being surrounded by people who do have a religious affiliation, somehow I feel that if things aren't going quite your way, there's somebody else that you can sort of count on. There's a line that, and maybe this is way out in left field, but I think in left field, and that is they say to err is human, to find somebody else to blame it on is even more human, okay? Turning that around in a positive way is that when you have a setback and you're not the sole person that's responsible, and having some sort of a superior type belief, I think adds a lot to it. So if someone comes to the Lourdes Senior Center, like we brought out before, they don't have to practice a particular religion, but it is there. So do you bring in the chaplains from various service denominations, or how does that work?
We do. There are of course Catholic priests who come in, and I've done some as a deacon. I've done some things myself, and we also have some non-Catholic clergy who come in and meet the spiritual needs of the people. The most important thing is and I see, Cheryl certainly epitomizes this with her group, is the dignity of the human person.
Absolutely.
And the dignity that each person is a son or daughter of God, and they have that dignity that is their right. And so when Cheryl and her group or anyone else at Lourdes is treating someone, or in Cheryl's case, it's not just, broken bones and limbs and so on and so forth. It's the entire person. It's the dignity that person brings to her group, or the dignity the person brings to another group. And also when people come into Lourdes, sometimes there's that phobia that I'm going to an old folks home. And I mean, there's a stereotype of that. And when people come in and they see how they're treated with dignity, and they overcome that. They overcome, and the families, of course, see that too, because you're not only ministering to the patients, and like in Cheryl's case, I mean, she's also ministering to the families.
Absolutely.
Because the families want to know how they're being treated, not only physically but emotionally and spiritually, and so Cheryl and her group bring a lot of comfort to the families as well, and other loved ones.
Now, on a practical day job type basis, what type of conditions do you provide services for?
Oh gosh, we probably our biggest group would be the orthopedic groups, hip fractures, humerus fractures, hip replacements. We also work with cardiac patients. We see a lot of neurologic groups, the Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, the disorders that really encompass the entire person as far as impairments go. Probably 30% of our residents have some stage of dementia, which can be a very trying thing for families to understand and cope with. As Bill said, families are an integral part of the therapy process. We may see them 2.5 hours a day. That family sees them even more. So we really look to them to continue the support and the guidance that we've given them during therapy. We work with pulmonary problems, COPDs. We just got in a relationship with Mercy Home Care through St. Joe's. They have a very active cardiac care program after being released from the hospital, and they determined that they really needed an intermediary, that they weren't quite ready to go home from the hospital. So Lourdes has worked out an agreement to be that intermediary to help those folks get ready to go home successfully.
So you actually pool in outside resources as
absolutely.
well.
Yes,
So,
we work very closely with the community.
Right, right. Now, you know, I would think, and I had a friend of mine who was in for rehab because of a hip replacement that wasn't the best, and the camaraderie during his rehabilitation stay was probably the best group of friends he said that he had, and he was in a way sorry to leave. And I would imagine, especially in a place that says, and I've been there, the grounds are beautiful.
Yeah.
Just to look out gives you a spring upwards, so to speak.
Right.
You're in almost like a forest type setting.
Yeah.
You're off the beaten track, and
Yeah.
you've got all these sophisticated
Yeah, the
approaches.
environment of Lourdes is very, very pretty. I mean, not only the view of the lake, but the wooded pathways, and even in wintertime when the snow is just hanging on the bare branches, it looks pretty.
Gorgeous.
Right.
It's a pretty, very pretty venue, and I'm sure, I mean, that has a lot to do with a person's emotional and spiritual well-being too. And you mentioned the word camaraderie, and when you spend any time in any of the buildings, the camaraderie is wonderful that the residents have with each other, and I'm sure patients as well, and that I think helps, you know, their emotional well-being as well. That
Right.
camaraderie they have.
Yeah,
Oh, you
we
got-
do our very best in the gym to make. We don't want therapy to be exercise. We don't want it to be work. You know, we do our very best to make it enjoyable. We're a great team. Anyone that walks in can tell that we're really enjoying what we're doing, and the residents are enjoying what we're
I
doing.
can attest to that. Yeah.
And I think that's key. If you don't establish those relationships with your patients, you're not going to get the outcomes.
Right, and the sort of the buddy type system develops. I imagine, hey, why don't you come down? Because I'm going to be there. Where were you yesterday?
Right.
That kind of thing.
We have multiple residents that have successfully gone home that come back in to see us, and you know, that in itself I think attests to Lourdes, that they care enough to want to come back, show us how they're doing. They visit all the nurses, and it's wonderful to see them come back after
Right.
they've reintegrated in the community.
All right. Now, you mentioned having to drive all the way from Grosse Pointe to Waterford. And my pity goes out to you.
No, it takes me about 45, 50 minutes when I go.
Right, no, but
Not bad at all.
I don't know if you ever heard Wayne Dyer. He's a motivational speaker. In fact, he went to Wayne State University. Now he's big time. Because he had a commute to Wayne State, he actually learned several languages. So there's a whole future for you, Bill.
I haven't done that
you
yet.
Can you can learn whatever language that you want. Who knows?
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
too old. We're never
Right,
too
right,
old.
You might as well.
Never
So
too
next
old.
time you might not even be able to speak English. Who knows?
That's right.
And in your particular situation, as far as the overall type treatments that you have, this may be too open-ended a question, but what's the usual length of time when you start somebody on occupational therapy? Is it weeks, months, or is it an ongoing thing?
Generally speaking, we'll usually set our initial goals for about 30 days. Knee patients, we can get them rehabilitated in less time. But for the most part, it's about 30 days, unless we're looking at some of the more involved neurologic conditions or the folks that have had strokes, and we're probably looking at more like 60 days with them. But it's a continual, we reassess continually to see how they're doing, bring the families in, see if, you know, as we said, we have the other buildings that they can go to if home is not an option. Then we have to start working with the families on that. We do home evaluations. If folks are going home, we go into the house, assess the environment in the home, make our recommendations for a successful return home.
And of course, once they've been at the Lourdes Senior Center, you pretty well know what their limitations are. So when you go to their home, you've got a better perspective.
Exactly.
Because I've dealt with seniors a good part of my professional career, and you have a lot of seniors that are very proud. They think they can still go tap dancing, and the truth of it is that the kitchen counter might be too high, and, right?
And that's what we go in and look at.
Right, and I would imagine the family would appreciate that too, because it's very difficult as a family member to tell a loved one, hey,
they call us the bad guys.
Right. So you are the bad guys.
Yes, we are the bad guys. Yeah, we say you can no longer drive. You know, we say you need a walker.
That is a big issue, isn't it?
Very much so.
Do any of the folks there have their own car at the?
Well, the people in Fox Manor have their own vehicles.
Right.
If they want, they don't have to have it. They have their own vehicles.
Now, what about your other buildings? You have some sort of form of transportation. The family take care of it. How's that work?
We do have a transportation that takes them on outings. They frequent. They go to Walmart. They go to the grocery store. Families are very involved. We have golf carts that go between the buildings that the residents love to go on the golf carts.
Oh, yeah, right.
We even have a pontoon boat on the facility.
Pontoon boat, yes, correct.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah,
I mean,
and we have like kind of these larger buses that take people to, to ball games and other outings like that.
I see. So if anyone is interested in sort of getting an overview, I assume you welcome people to take a lunch. I'm going to throw in lunch on your behalf.
I know you like our soup.
No, I had the soup there.
I heard how much you liked
it. And it's super soup.
That's what I heard.
I'm trying to find an excuse to get reinvited.
You're welcome anytime.
We're always welcoming people to tours. In fact, they can just call 248-674-2241. That's 248-674-2241. And we'd be happy to give them a tour and of all 4 buildings. And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's great.
And introduce them to the staff people such as Cheryl and so on.
It's a wonderful place to visit.
It's a great place to visit,
Come get rehab.
Now, do you also have a lot of events open to the community to come? Like the other night was wonderful.
That was open. We do have some seminars, so to speak, that are open to the people. We had a 9-part series that ended last early September regarding aging and so on. And of course, the one you attended, that was part of Respect for Life. Healing power of God and the healing power of being cared for by others and so on. And so, we do have events like that are public occasionally,
The good thing is that you are able to have people come in pretty well anytime they want to check it out. And they want to see an actual activity. You give them that option.
Right.
I am just curious as to doing occupational therapy. Do you have members of the family who want to sort of supervise what the heck is going on, or you don't usually have too much of that?
In the department?
Right.
I'm the boss.
You're the boss.
I'm the boss.
And don't you forget it.
And don't you forget it.
All right.
I know I don't.
It's been a delight talking to you folks. And
thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
And I always like to leave with my favorite thought, that remember, yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. Today is a gift, and that's why we call it the present. Please enjoy your present by looking at life with the bright side of aging.